Hi, I'm Eddie Burke. I've been the bartender at the Hollywood Improv for 40 years, and this is my podcast, Eddie's Bar at the Improv. Oh, you covering up that mohawk?
No.
Come on.
I cut my own hair, obviously. I'll save it for the air, gentlemen.
Okay.
I'm going to put earbuds in, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Mikey Carano.
Hi, Jay Mohr.
I am? I had no idea that you were a part of this. Do you know how happy I am right now?
I'm a very little part of it, but I'll be watching and I'll be listening.
He's a very big part of this.
Eddie, headliners are talking, Eddie. Come on.
Okay.
All right, you guys have a great conversation.
No,
I'll
Mike,
be here.
Mike. Between the three of us, you're the most interesting guy here. So hold on.
Tell me.
First of all, Mike,
Yeah.
Michael, first of all, your glasses are perfectly chosen. It's a very underrated life choice, your eyeglass frame. It's very stressful, I would guess. I don't have glasses, but I would guess that's very stressful.
Do you know how much
All right, guys,
thought I put into these?
I'm gonna
Zero.
Gotta go, Mike. See you later.
For a second. Welcome to Eddie's Bar at the Improv podcast, pandemic edition. This is my pandemic beard still. This will come off at some point because I'm getting tired of it. And I think I've told you, my wife has read me the riot act about this stupid beard. So within a couple of weeks. And anyway, today, my guest, this is great. My guest is an actor, comedian, radio show host, podcast host, wrestling coach, Mr. Jay Mohr. Jay, thank you so much for being here.
Eddie Concrete, what's up, brother? What's up, man? Life coach also. You could take radio guy off the resume because that was the job I had for a couple of years. But life coaching, too, has been my sole pandemic source of income. And as you can see, I got my pandemic hairdo also.
I see. Life coach. That's one I didn't know. Okay.
I'm better at that than I am at anything. I'm not kidding.
Really?
CoachJJ37@gmail.com. And non-disclosure agreements, money-back guarantee. I've just been kicked in the balls by life enough that I've actually lived through what people come to me with. And it's pretty much fear and they feel stuck. But you're not stuck, everybody. You're fine. So anyway, let's get off of that. And let's talk about Eddie's Bar at the Improv podcast. I see you already have merch, which is really, they took an Improv t-shirt and they got Sharpie that was like white and just wrote Eddie's Bar and over Improv and under it wrote podcast.
I want you to know that the design for this, which is, I'll show you on the back. This is really the design. And this is it. And I'm going to send you one of these.
Please. I'm going to send you I'll send you a couple wrestling t-shirts. You are large? Yeah. Mikey, You need one for sure. Carano needs a wrestling t-shirt. All right, I like how you talk about the design for your t-shirts, and all it is writing in order. Like, right?
I designed this on a napkin.
I can tell, Well, you work with what you have, Eddie. All right.
And I don't have much. Joe,
you know what? Let me tell you something. My manager, who used to be my manager, actually, Barry Katz, who you both know, came to my house here in Malibu, which is house is a big fancy word for a place that a guy used to keep his surfboards, and now I live in it after the divorce. He hugged me and he said, "How are you doing?" This was last night. I haven't seen Barry Katz in 3 years. And as I was hugging him, I said, "I have everything." And I didn't plan on saying it, and I realized I have everything. You have everything. Mike's got everything. It's I think a lot of the time what keeps us from just being overwhelmed with, I can't believe how fucking lucky and awesome my life is the fact that we never just pause and be still and say, this is really amazing. Like, look at us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so you're handling this whole crazy situation pretty well.
It's the best thing that happened to me because there's no one to bounce your bullshit off of when you're in quarantine. Your perception of shit, there's nobody, you can't gather a witness. You can't sway votes on the Senate floor. It's just you alone going over shit in your head until you realize I can make one phone call and I can rectify an entire situation if I can swallow my pride and take the high road. I learned that I'm an introvert and being an extrovert is my moat, like around the castle. Like words are my defense. I keep you, like a boxer, I keep you like at least a jab away from getting close inside with me, but with my words. And if I love you, I bring you in, and then I shower you with every fucking movie quote and thing I know with my words. I learned that.
I find it hard to believe that you're an introvert.
I do too, brother. Believe me, I do too. But everything I love to do is a solo activity, a monastic activity. Stand-up comedy is a monastic life. You're completely, entirely alone in another city in a hotel room where you don't even know which fucking direction the elevator is when you wake up the next day, let alone what town you're in, who to call, what to do, where to eat, what to read, what to listen to. You don't have a car. You're alone. Doing nothing. And then, on stage, you're alone. When you coach wrestle, when you wrestle, you're alone. It's not really a team sport. Like, your coach is chewing everybody out because you lost a match and you pinned your guy, so he's not talking to you. Paddleboarding, surfing, fishing, every single thing I do in solitude, and there's no one to talk to. And it's what I love the most. It's very odd. I learned that self-pity is my language. Being in AA, I read the big book often because it works for me. And I read the words self-pity 1,000 times. And then 4 weeks ago, I read it, and it was a spiritual experience, as they write in the big book. I really had one, and I went, oh my God, it's all I say are low-level complaints about lower-level injustices.
Well, you've been your own man throughout your career. I
don't realize that was the problem. I always need external validation, and I'm a validation.
Well, we all do, I think. But, the bottom line is you always stand up for yourself. And if you don't like something, you move on or you do something different. But I was born and raised in New York City. You come from a town in New Jersey, Verona, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Where the hell is Verona, New Jersey?
22 miles from the Lincoln Tunnel, straight shot past Giant Stadium. As far as it is from the Lincoln Tunnel to Giant Stadium on Route 3 or 46, it's the exact same distance into the suburbs to Verona. It borders Montclair, Cedar Grove, Caldwell, and West Orange.
And did you grow up in Verona?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the only place I lived as a kid until I moved to Manhattan at like 18. You said something I really wanted to tell you was great. You said, but you stand up about me. You said, but you always stand up for yourself. And that's the sentence I personally needed in my jigsaw puzzle of what the fuck has happened to me after coming out of like abuse and terrible things is at 45 years old. I'm being 49 now. I'm going to be 50 in 2 months. At 45 years old, I conceded that and I gave it away. And I did not stand up for myself. And when that happened, I kept accepting things I would never accept to be done as normal, and they weren't. And that's why. It's because I loved somebody, and you can't conceive that somebody could actually behave that way. That would make them diabolical, but they're not. It's just
why do you think that happened at that point?
I was in love, and she must be right. Because I when you marry somebody, for example, to just use, I'm not going to talk ill about anybody that can't defend themselves, but like, let's say for hypothetical reasons, let's say you're married and it's fucking bizarre and your wife says debilitating things and you're like, wow, I must be, instead of going, hey, fuck you, because you don't want to spook the thoroughbred and have it run away. Instead, you just go, oh, wow, well, I've committed my life to this person. What marriage is you listen to what they say because you married them because that's how you feel about them. Right. And then you realize after like 2 years you're being gaslit and you go insane. Like I went to a mental hospital twice to ask for a bed. And I'm going to tell you something. You have no idea what it meant for me. I'm getting choked up. For me to say words, comedy at your retirement party, which by the way, you got fired. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, by the way, I am still explaining to my wife and kids about that. They don't totally believe that wasn't true. They're at every other
my story?
Day. Yeah.
I made that story up on the spot. I was just telling my assistant, Yasmin, I believe that was the tip of the white hot spear of my entire existence. Best thing I've ever done live in my life. I think that was my like Prince playing creep at Coachella and changing the words, "You're a creep."
People
you're
on the edge of their seats. You had my son and my daughter and my wife constantly looking at me like, are you kidding? You didn't tell us about this?
Have you told the story at all to anybody? How could you remember it? It was too insane.
Well,
I remember like the broad strokes was I saw you at Ralph's and you had won. Like,
I remember all of it. I remember the meet. I remember the competition. I remember $300.
Who's this
I
guy?
remember Stephen Piercy sitting on your couch.
Lead
I
singer of
remember
Rat.
the whole story.
I saw Eddie at Ralph's, and he had won like a gift card on a game show. It was online, so nobody's. It's got to be believable enough, like 1%, where you're like, wait, really?
yeah.
And it was like he was buying with the money he won from the game show, like a supermarket sweeps. He was just going for the meat, but he was going for the meat that was expired because it was cheaper. He could even more meat, and then he brought it back to his house. He wanted help carrying it. I walk into his apartment, and the lead singer of Rat has a heroin overdose on his couch. And then he showed me when you're cleaning blood out of the bathtub. This is the last sentence of the story. I'll say I just truncated it. He unscrewed the drain in the tub. He goes, "You have to bleach the bottom of the drain. That's why I'm here, and other people are doing life in prison." Good night, everybody. And the whole crowd's like, "What?"
Yes, and my like I said, my wife and kids are still questioning about.
That's good for you. What's your wife not going to give you consent to make love in her sleep after she knows you scrub blood off of the bottom of the drain?
Definitely, but again, anyway, thank you for being there. It was so nice of you. I
got to tell you this though. I'm sorry. I know you got a thing you want to do here.
That's okay.
Me, but these epiphanies keep popping around. I went to a mental hospital, visit a friend about 5 years ago, and while I was downtown at this Kaiser place, I saw that this girl I was saying hi to, an old friend, she had a shadow that sat with her 24 hours a day, her entire stay. Like 5 feet from her at all times was a person just keeping an eye on her. And I thought, if I have a shadow and if I stay here for a while, I'll have someone to confirm reality for me. I'll be able to say, "Hey, is it morning time?" "Yes, it's morning time." "Is that a yellow wall?" "That is a yellow wall." Yeah. I'm like, that sounds amazing. That's how sick I was. And I looked up and I said, "Excuse me." And as soon as the administrator turned around, both fucking times was a Friday night, a month apart. Both times I had the Improv the next night on Melrose, and it was sold out. And as that person said, "Can I help you?" as the words I need to lay down were coming out of my mouth, my mind said, I can't do that to Rita. I can't cancel the Improv and leave her holding the bag with a full house. So I'd walk out. The next night, I got a standing ovation at the Improv. And Sunday morning, both times, by the grace of God, there was a 7 a.m. wrestling practice. And those were the paddles, like clear, boom, that kind of shook me out of my rut. And I knew then if I go to the Improv regularly and throw myself head over heels 100% into coaching, this will never happen again. And that's what happened. So in an odd way, that Improv t-shirt you're wearing, you could tell me it's like your podcast shirt, but I know they just scribbled around the words Improv. It means a lot to me, buddy, to be on your podcast. More than you thought.
So
I hand the floor to the senator from New York.
so comedy is turning out, and actually comedy and keeping busy is a therapy for you. Mm-hmm. And you when did all this start, like with SNL, when your anxiety and everything, or have you always had anxiety and
Well, I talked over the first part of that question about before SNL. Would you ask about anxiety?
Yeah, I want, I know you had some anxiety when you were doing SNL.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. So it wasn't anxiety. It was panic. And there's a big difference between the two. In my book, Gasping for Airtime, look, I don't make any money. I got ex-wives. They get all my residuals. I just want to help people, really. I explain the difference, and I go through like panic disorder. So I have panic disorder. Anxiety and panic and yes, the answer is I had it my whole life, but it was kind of dormant. But when I was with a psychiatrist or a psychopharmacologist, they'd walk me they didn't get into my childhood, but they asked me to examine if I had them before. And there was times in my childhood that I definitely freaked out, had panic attacks. So anxiety, if anybody listening has bad anxiety, great news. It's not going anywhere. You're fucked because it's a stimulus response. Your boss is an asshole. So when you drive to work, you get a knot in your stomach, you have anxiety because what is he going to say next? That's go fuck yourself if that's your problem. Boo-hoo. Panic is you're driving to the park to see a fucking puppy that's being given away. And as you're parking, you absolutely are flooded with, for no reason, with the life-saving levels of adrenaline and endorphins. You don't think you're dying. You know you're dying. You're fucking dying. Your heart rate is 200 and your inside want to be on your outside. So it's not stimulus response. It's a neurological glitch. So if you have a panic disorder and you're having panic attacks, it's entirely treatable. And that's great news. Like if you think of the cereal aisle it's like depression. If you think of the cereal aisle in the supermarket, the amount of different boxes of cereal, that's how many options you have if the first option doesn't work for depression or like bipolar disorder or panic. So if you have anxiety, you got to make a move. You got to fix something in your life because you're responding poorly to somebody that sucks. If you have panic, it's like having bronchitis. Go get the antibiotic and get yourself well.
But is that why you left SNL?
No, I was tired of waiting my turn, and I was treated fairly. I loved it. In hindsight, I get nostalgic about it. I got to see Chris Farley, the most beautiful man I've ever known in my life, ever. It's like he swallowed Christmas lights all the time, every day. I got to see Michael McKean and like talk me out of a panic attack once. He was in his office playing acoustic guitar, and I jumped into his office and told him I was dying. And he said, I've been thinking of the name of euphemisms for how gay somebody might be. What do you think of this one? And he was playing his guitar in his office, and he would just go, guy's gayer than a lake full of pink snakes. And he would play for another 4 minutes and go, gayer than a leather piñata. It's like, it was absurdly funny. And it's just, he talked me off a ledge. But I had, that's not why I left SNL. I didn't want to be the bailiff with no lines. I found it to be humiliating, which is ego, and I should get over myself. And that's how everybody broke in, except for Ellen Cleghorn, who had the lead sketch, Michael Jordan episode, the season premiere. I'd never seen that happen before. Good. That's good.
Yeah.
And I remember Lauren once told us, if you don't like it, everybody, there's the door. You can always be the third lead on a sitcom. And I remember thinking to myself, that's got to be at least $25,000 a week. Okay, so good to know. There's the door. So they extended my contract in the summer, the contract year after my second year. They wanted 2 weeks to extend me to see if they wanted me back. And I said, all right, you got it. Then they wanted another 2 weeks, which went to late July. You know, you got to be there the second week of August, third week of August. And I said, okay. Then they wanted another 2 weeks. And my agent said, in my experience, if people need 6 weeks to decide if they want to work with you, they're not really crazy about working with you. And I went, all right. So then tell them no. And then they said, all right, fine, go fuck yourself too. And then I got the Jeff Foxworthy show, $25,000 on the dot a week. And after 3 episodes, Cameron Crowe called me and told me I got Jerry Maguire. So it was just, providence that I was able to go. But I loved it. I love it. I would do it again in a minute. Lauren Michaels is great. I mean, at the end of the day, out of 153 individuals, he said, I like that Jay fellow.
Yeah.
Instant legitimacy. You do Saturday Night Live, it's like being governor. If you were governor in 78, I don't introduce you as, the former governor, Eddie? You're Governor Eddie.
Since you brought up Jerry Maguire, that was your first screen role? Your first feature film? Jerry Maguire?
You cut out, but I think you asked if that was my first movie ever. Yeah.
And I mean, Show Me the Money was, it's like.
It's amazing that people really that is the sentence from that movie.
Right.
Movie with 10, 12, 15 sentences that easily could have been that.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking me to dance. Or, I got an ant problem, Jerry. Like there's so many lines in that.
There are, and it's a great movie. I loved it, and I loved your performance. And I'm sorry, I love that line. Show me the money.
I never said it. Like people will see me in an airport or something, and they'll just go, "Oh my God, show me the money, show me." Like they say it over and over, like a mantra. And I'm like, I never said that line. Or they want me to sign something. Could you write "Show me the money"? I go, yeah, but just so you know, like I'd never said it.
No, it was all Cuba Gooding.
That was Cuba. My stuff was, except for the firing scene, which was exactly by the book, and it was my audition scene also. There was a lot of ad-libbing, and Cameron Crowe would be just off camera, and we would shoot like almost like a full roll, which is, Mike wouldn't know what a roll is. It's a lot of time. And we just kept going and going, and he would be off to the side of it, and he'd say, 1 million channels, a new millennium, 1 million channels. I want you on every one of them. And I would repeat that. And he'd go, say that, and then say whatever you want afterwards. He'd say, more money, more endorsements. And I would say it, and he goes, now just keep going. And we got good stuff. And what Cameron did that was really beautifully magnanimous was he took an ad lib of mine, or a lot of them, like, do you really think Jerry Maguire knows what it's like to be a black person? Then he brought Tom back after releasing him for the day and set up real quick and told Tom what I had said. And Tom Cruise goes, he said that? I am Mr. Black People. I love black people. That's all because of the ad lib stuff. Like that. But think about like a director saying, oh, that's better. I wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And what that fucking comedian just said, let's forget what I wrote and do what he said. And let's go tell the biggest movie star in the world. And let's get an entire crew. Like, all right. That was pretty validated. That gave me a lot of like strength to go up against Jennifer Aniston, who made me cry in the next movie.
Yeah, it should have, because it's all infamous at this point, and it's something that you will always have.
I loved it. I mean, it changed my life, and look, I was impressionable. I got diagnosed bipolar this year. I'm going to be 50 in a month. And at 49 and a half, my psychiatrist of 2 years went, I mean, how long do you not want to address bipolar disorder? And I went, wait, what? And he's like, I thought you knew that's what we were talking about. I'm like, how the fuck, unless you say it, how do I know? And so if I'm on a movie set with Tom Cruise, I'm pretty manic in hindsight. Like I'm pretty fired up. And then when I'm not working, the bottom falls out, I guess, or I don't know. So these things, my point being with the bipolar disorder is, things that were really cool were really fucking cool. And I was like a kid at Seaside Heights, New Jersey, freaking out at the rides.
Well,
they're good people.
It was all worth it, I think.
I'm talking about the Jews.
The finished product speaks for itself.
Well, I don't think he finished. Oh, are we talking about the Jews or Germany?
we're
final product. I think it's solution. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm just trying to make.
We're talking about Jerry Maguire.
Nice Magoo glasses.
Yeah. Let's talk about the show that you helped start, Last Comic Standing. That was a show you executive produced and you hosted and
created. It's only about the best part, Daddy.
No,
my show. I made it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I don't want to be a host like I'm hosting Family Feud. I'm Louis all this. Hey, show me Parcheesi on the board.
No, yeah, you created that show, and the first couple of seasons they were in a house.
Yeah, and I left when they were moved out of the house. It was really important to me that the comedians be put into a house. And then they have to battle each other, because the comedians I grew up with in the East Coast, the Bill Burr, Jim Norton, Rich Voss, Dave Chappelle was 16, 17, 18, 19. I bought him his first beer at the Limelight. He was 16 years old. Colin Quinn, Patrice O'Neill, like Ralphie May, all these guys, Gary, like the guys I came up with were the funniest people on earth. And when people said, who's your favorite comedian? Nobody knew who I was. David Tell, nobody knew who I was talking about. It'd be like now, all your favorite comedians that you and Mike love, and everybody you talk to goes like, Aziz.
And you're like, you don't know what fucking comedy is if that's your favorite comedian.
Yeah.
Like I'm not shitting on Aziz. I'm just being pragmatic. If that's your favorite, then you've only listened to Steely Dan. If Steely Dan is your favorite band.
Yeah, that is an issue.
Aziz Ansari is the Steely Dan of stand-up comedy.
Well, that's the problem, I think, with the generation today. They're not really familiar with the comedians a generation.
Yeah, I know you're not. Let's make clear that I know you are not speaking about Aziz right now. So clear that hurdle entirely for the listener, because I know you're not at all shit talking Aziz. Yeah,
I'm not talking about Aziz at all. I love Aziz.
I know that. But if you were, who the fuck is gonna say some shit? Come see me, because I'm outside the bank. Big trust. I'm about it.
What was your final straw on?
Well, I didn't want the comedians out of the house, because then I'm just hosting Star Search. And what I loved about the comedians in the house was how, look, when you're on Survivor or Big Brother, you got to form alliances and you got to go behind people's back. Like, I'm going to vote for you, but don't tell him I'm voting for him. But then the big joke is everybody was voting against the guy in the first place and everything. And in Last Comic Standing, I really loved the simplicity of, in a house, you get on my nerves just because we're different types of energy, and you go, I know I'm funnier than you. That was the sentence that I loved that we put into the script. Like, you had to go into a confessional booth at the end of the episode and go, hey, I know I'm funnier than Rich Voss. I mean, who isn't? We're all, Rich Voss is about as funny as a fucking children's cancer ward missing all the helmets. Like, come on, Voss, you stink. I like how Rich Voss has a speech impediment and hasn't altered his act in 30 years to choose words where it doesn't get highlighted. Like, my daughter, I owe her $6. She's dodging me. Or I'm dodging her. Like, you could say avoiding. Anyway, I love Rich. So the comedians would then battle head to head. The audience would vote. The people at home would vote. So when they got taken out of the house, I've never told this to anybody, Eddie. The problem for me was, I feel this way also, is I don't want to just have people audition to go on TV, to have people vote to see the comic, because comedy is deeper than that. I want you to see how brilliant they are when they're relaxed. But also, you got to keep in mind, I know you've heard, and people have heard, like on the fucking stupid ass internet things, like, that show's fixed. Jay Mohr's manager, Barry Katz, is a producer, and he represents, first of all, it's against the law and against NBC and against our moral principles. I can't manage you and put you on a show. It's fucking cheating. It's no good. They filmed the coin tosses, NBC, because of the quiz show scandal. Every show does this. They would film the fucking coin toss and document it and put it in a vault in case anybody questioned the coin toss. There was film that it was a legitimate coin toss. So I didn't like comedians auditioning to just go onto the show to audition.
Right.
When they're going into the house, it's casting. And America then gets to see, because people go like, oh, it's fixed. You can't fix a casting. A casting is fixed. I want people in the house that are going to be the best in the house, that are funny. Now, once we're voting for people, that's not casting, that's voting. That can be fixed. But when we're choosing who was into the house, when Brett Butler and Drew Carey were the names that came up, they're both my friends. And people would say, like, well, the comics on their card didn't match the comics that got on the show, because Barry Katz and shit. First of all, I wasn't allowed to vote at all. I had an opinion. I created the show. But when you hand in your list and the network goes, you must have 3 women. And your response is, well, 3 women weren't deserving of getting in. We had to take somebody off the list because the demographics and the tests show that you have a 30% audience of women, so they must be represented. So Jay London, Dan Natterman, and I forget who the third comedian was, were the 3 we were choosing to say, no, you're actually not on the show anymore because of a quota. And I didn't like that. And I didn't like that. Basically, if they're not in the house, you're auditioning people to audition.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. And it wasn't like, well, then I'll walk and see. I wasn't calling a bluff. I was saying, I did it for a couple of years. I made some good dough. And, I didn't want my future ex-wife to have that much money. So I bounced.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the part I never told any. Oh, the part about the house is not the audition. Yeah. Okay.
The
feel like I'm
first
rambling.
the first season, I remember. I think
Yeah.
that fan won.
Yeah. My own family voted for that fan. My Aunt Sally teaches special ed in Brick, New Jersey. She's got a heart the size of Gibraltar. And I said, did you really feel? She voted for that fan 6 times, 3 on one phone and 3 on her computer. I said, did you, hey Sal, did you think that fan was the funniest person? She goes, oh, you know me, JJ. I hate when kids are picked on. Like,
That's exactly why.
that's what the show's called. Who do you want them to stop picking on?
Yes.
Next?
I think that's exactly why he won. People felt.
Oh, it is why he won. Look, let's call it. Look, I'm not politically like Ralphie. I ain't politically correct. I'm just correct. It is what it is. He absolutely won because people had a reaction to him being picked on. If it was now, they probably would have had his head on a stick the way the country is now. Him being like almost a brown person and all. But I'll tell you something about that fan. The kid fucking worked his dick off. Now he's Vietnamese, so how can you tell? I know. But he worked his dick off and he wrote constantly and he was a good kid. He was kind. He really was just a pie in the sky, like giant wide-eyed of filled with wonder, like this is amazing. And then he wanted the buzzsaw of Ralphie May and Rich Voss torturing him. He wasn't prepared for that. We played hide and seek with that fan on camera, and the big joke was nobody looks for him. He was behind a curtain in a theater in the house, and we had a clock on camera. An hour and 40 minutes, he comes out from under the curtain drenched like my dog after a bath, and he's saying to the cameras, shh, go away. They're going to, meanwhile, you keep cutting away. All the comics are downstairs like, they've stopped thinking about this joke. That fan comes downstairs after an hour and 40 minutes. He's drenched in sweat from the heat of being under a theater curtain. And the first thing he says is, I'm never playing hide and seek with you guys again.
That's one of the main things that I remember about that show was that fan and the hide and seek, because nobody looked for him and everybody ended up feeling sorry for the guy.
Even
and,
the people in the house, with the laugh of Rich Voss when he says, I'm never playing hide and seek with you guys again. You're listening. If anybody can find it on YouTube or something, like shoot it our way. You are listening to someone coming undone. Like when you laugh so hard, you're going to leave the room because you might die.
You said that fan worked hard.
Yeah.
Well, he worked at the Improv as a host or whatever, and while he was doing his stand-up. And one thing that I never figured this out, he had a notebook, and I don't know if he used it on the show, but in that notebook, he shows me this one day. He has every laugh that the people do for his jokes, where they laugh,
the timing of it, how long it was.
Yes, exactly.
That's the most Asian thing ever, to know how long somebody laughed. Of course, it's got to be
right. And I'm thinking like, okay, did they laugh the same way the next night with the same jokes? And
the second notebook and shows you.
He
was like John Nash, beautiful mind, crazy. But that's what it takes to invest. It didn't work for him. I mean, right. I don't know where he is right now, but he was teased for that after the show even. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you something. If you're a comedian, you're starting out, this fucking like alternative room bullshit and this laundromat full of hipsters, or the black room, or the Puerto Rican room, or the gay night, or the I'm wearing different colored socks party, it ain't going to work for you. You have to fucking be so single-minded, and it's all you think about. And you have to be, look, how many notebooks are in here? Yeah, it's 40. They're all full, Eddie. Mm-hmm. My apartment, cover your face. It's nothing but notebooks, the entire room. Now, half of it's my Carano's movie that I'm stealing, but you know, that worked super hard. And
but it wasn't just notes. What made me question the whole thing with him was the fact that he had down where the people laughed. And you know comedy a hell of a lot better than I do, but you also know that they may laugh at that spot tonight and tomorrow night they may just not laugh at all. You know, everything
I
changes.
like that you said the thing about that, and we're using the word that for insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a level of, it was crazy. It was different colored Sharpies, different colored pencil. I'm not joking. There's like a fucking legend that showed you what symbols meant in the middle of the notebook. And like, you don't want to know where the laughs come is the fucking punchline usually. That's where they go. They're always laughing at the same part. I disagree with you, Eddie. They laugh exactly where they're supposed to every single night. So for me to go, when I say, oh, a tale of course, because you can always get on an airplane without your towel. As Christopher Walken, if I have a notebook that says 4,000 times, that kind of laugh there. That's where the laugh goes.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand the concept, but I loved the work ethic, and then the work ethic sort of scared me. But I did like that he was like a scientist, because you do have to be like a mad scientist. I say this to the wrestlers, like, you got to experiment. You got to be willing to be on your back, flopping around, you know, getting pinned, choked out. Like, you got to know what doesn't work. You got to know the rules before you break them. You got to be like that. You know what? From now on, I'm going to say, what would that fan do? That's what
Well, I got to tell
the
you.
whole pandemic could have been solved with that fan and one Brazilian dance kickbox class.
Every comedian that is successful and every comedian that may not,
Sorry.
that may not be successful is extremely dedicated, extremely hardworking. You know, people think you guys get up there and just, you know, take it off the cuff. And it has nothing to do with that at all for the most part. You guys all work very hard. You know, you guys are some of the most, I've said this before, intelligent people on earth, because you stay up with the news. You're topical in your comedy. And in order to do that, you have to know what you're talking about. You can't just make a statement about a political figure and say it's true. You have to back it up, and you guys work hard. You know,
Yes. It's we work on one thing. It's like yes, I agree with what you said. I don't agree with personally that my modality is keeping up with current events in the news doesn't even concern me at all on stage, because I need to report my news of events that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
About 6 years ago was when I jumped up like 8 levels in the video game of life as far as comedy goes, and I realized everything I'm going to say on stage from this moment forward has either happened to me or is going to happen to me. To sit down and write a joke is not a truthful construct. Hey, what's the deal with, some notebooks have lines like, who gives a fuck? I know you sat down, you made some shit up. That doesn't impress me. What impresses me that you admitted to sucking a guy's dick. Like, what? Which is like a story I've opened with. Like, what impresses me is you on stage talking about the hilariousness of your mom's service after dying of Alzheimer's, what she said to you on her deathbed. Like, did you almost cry on stage because you didn't know how much the story you were telling would fuck you up? Because that's where I'm at. And that's where the audiences are at is, yeah, jokes are fun, but who are you? Like, what the fuck is your sadness? What's your hurt? What's your anger? And share it with me, because I'm fucked up too. I don't want to hear jokes unless it's like a joke guy. Like Brian Regan, he works harder probably than anybody, right? And my act and his act are so different. I don't know. I don't have like an act. I just tell these stories, but it's like Brian Regan, there's not a lot of his heart in the data, the text, but all of his heart is in him reporting it. You know, that's him really sharing with you, even though the bits are about, have a good day. You too. Like Carlin, no heart, all data. Pryor, all heart. Gary Goldman, who's like my new favorite comedian with my favorite bit is that abbreviating the states. Like, that's a made up fucking story, and it's all heart somehow. Like, it's almost like a magic act we do. I had a guy say to me in Denver, my brother Darren, Big D, what's up? He said, your show's like a magic trick. You walk on stage and you throw 10 boomerangs into the sky. An hour later, you collect 14 and leave, and we don't know how you did it. And I said, wow, I don't know how I do it either. I have no idea. I know what he's saying. It's my friend Melora Walters asked me about doing stand-up, and I texted it to her, and I took a screen grab because I couldn't believe I finally explained it after 33 years of doing it. It's like breaking the sound barrier, but with time. Instead of breaking the miles per hour, you're breaking the sound barrier. How long can you harness, hold, control, manipulate, and keep time from them? And it's vibrating. The longer you wait, the fucking panels are coming off. But if you can just fucking ride it out, you're out the other side, and it's a fucking joy. So the rocket of time disintegrates as you go, but if you can ride it out, it's like riding a skateboard downhill. I can jump off now, or fuck it, let's see what happens.
How do you incorporate all this stuff into your life coaching?
Well, obviously you're the best, Eddie. That's a very good pivot and an interesting question. How do you not, I guess, would be the answer if I was being flippant when not trying to be, but it's situational. If somebody says to me, I'm really worried all the time about something, but then I can share with them. Before I hosted the NHL Awards, that was going to be live on television, I was backstage like terrified. And you've seen me before I go on stage. I could literally take a fucking nap. I get, and I told my assistant, Charlie, I said, Chaluch, man, I'm freaking out. And he goes, yeah, you're not prepared? And at that moment, I realized I'm prepared. I wrote every joke. All the jokes are in the teleprompter because I put them in the teleprompter. All I have to do is read my own jokes. I'm prepared. And so I can share if preparation erases worry, or it should. So like things like that, I could apply that to like a specific situation. But, if it comes up and I've experienced it, I share it.
So because of what you've gone through with the panic attacks and the anxiety, did this make you want to share with other people as far as being a life coach?
I hate the words life coach, and if anybody can come up with a better name, I'm open to it. I didn't want to become a life coach, and it's not like I really want to make this my thing. I had depression so bad after my divorce, I couldn't get out of bed, where my dogs were in the bed. My dogs weigh 3 pounds, and they're this big. They can't get out of the bed by themselves. They can't jump out of bed. They're idiots. They're 3 pounds. My bed for 3 days had dog piss in it, my piss in it, dog shit in it, Gatorade bottle. I didn't get out of bed, and there was shit and piss in my bed. I didn't care. And I got a text from the wrestling coach at Crespi. My first wrestling coaching job was at Crespi Carmelite in Encino. And the text, for 3 days, Eddie. This is before the mental hospital trips. He texted me, I'm not going to make practice. I need you to run it. I was in my car before I had a single thought about, I need to get up out of this fucking bed. Bang! And that night, as I was sleeping, I asked God, why am I here on earth? I'm not a hurt myself, kill myself kind of depressive. I'm too much of a sufficient narcissist. I know I want to stay on earth to get some more validation. And chicks, mostly chicks. I asked, why am I here? Like, why am I actually here? And God spoke to me in my sternum, not my ears. It's a she, by the way. And it was to separate people from their concern. And then all of a sudden I saw every single thing I do, it all falls under that one banner. Stand-up comedy, make them feel better. Coaching, I got to tell these kids, if they lose every match, they still are going to know they're more magnificent than they even imagined. They're magnificent kids. You just got to keep pushing, and trust me, I'll never lie to you, I tell them. You're going to love who you're going to meet down the line. And they can't give me anything back.
What's your background in wrestling?
I wrestled in high school and briefly in college, and I just always loved thinking, how would I coach to change the way I was coached? The way I was coached, the way you were coached, it's not applicable anymore. Like, my way or the highway. You say that to a bunch of millennials, it's going to be a lot of gridlock, man. They're going to walk out. Everyone, this is the first generation to realize they're at a sport and they're at practice voluntarily, and you don't have to do a fucking thing your coach asks you to do. Go run laps. No, thanks. I'm going to go home and jerk off. Oh, okay, bye, guys. You don't have to run laps. You guys can stay in the team and not run. Leave them alone. You know, now it's like, you can't do that shit. And now it's about emotional athleticism. Like, I have to have emotional athleticism. Kids win those. They're open for a split second, then they slam closed. They're looking at their YouTube. Somebody reaches for their phone mid-conversation. You lost them. Trust me, they're not listening. So when that window's open, I have to say something that's perfect, where it's instructional. And what I say, it has to be truthful 100%. It'll work. It has to work. And it has to reinforce the trust we already have in real time. I hope that makes sense. And then when it works, I have more trust with that person. So I guess maybe that's what I get in return is their trust. But
it does. It make, you know, I think those, whatever kids you are coaching or coached, I think they're extremely fortunate to have you, from what you're telling me with the way you coach, because I was an athlete in high school and college and a little bit beyond. And everybody, you know, all the coaches were exactly how you explain. It's my way or the highway, you know, and
all stick, no carrot.
Yeah.
Like, you sicken me, get the fuck, no, you know what? You're doing great, buddy. That's all I need. I mean, who knows what would happen, but you know what? People go like, well, be toughen up. Don't be a pussy. Like, I've proven many times over I'm not a pussy. Like, I'll crack fucking heads. I don't care. Like, I'm fine. It's just debilitating negative reinforcement. And we do it to ourselves so much anyway that you don't need to join that party. So I basically, look, let me tell you something, Eddie. I am way more lucky. This is what people say, and you hear it all the time. I get it. I need them more than they need me. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I'm a sex addict. I am. I've never said that out loud, by the way. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
I've never said that out loud. I mean, I love you, Eddie. That's straight. And Mikey, I see you in the thing, on the video Zoom thing, whatever, the Hollywood Squares box. And I'm like, well, yeah, we're talking. So it's a problem. Everything with me is, what do I get out of it? And then, but what's the next level? When's the next rail of cocaine? I've never done cocaine, but from what everyone is, I'm being serious. I've never seen cocaine, by the way. People don't believe that, but it's true. But from what people have told me, my friends that are actual like fucking recovering crackheads, the moment it touches your nose, you go, can we get more of this right now? Like, you're not even done with the line. Mike's laughing, so I guess he's has a problem with coke. He just likes the way it smells. It's not a problem. And so, yeah, what's next? What's next? What's my validation from this? Like, I have erectile dysfunction, Eddie. I go see an escort. I don't get an erection. She's laying there. Guess what? That's the most validating thing. This person's going to lay there as I'm a sweaty old fucking perv punching my clown, hoping it works. That's not really humiliating. You paid money so that person could just lay there and tell you everything's fine. Don't sweat. It's fucking bizarre. But I got to put a little distance between what I just said and where I'm going back to. So if I transition all the way through Santa Monica, and let's say I wind up back at the wrestling room, there we are. There is no what's next. There is no what do I get. There is no validation that they give me. The only thing they can give me is feeling really great about themselves. And I'm telling you the truth. Twice a month, I drive home and I start crying. I like I sob. I fucking sob like an Italian widow. Oh, because I can't believe how beautiful it is. Whatever just happened. Look, there's no bad guys in a wrestling room. It's the one sport that's void of assholes. There's no room. They don't exist. Because wrestling doesn't build character. It reveals it. And that's why so many people quit. Is because they get out before they're exposed. The wrestling room has truth serum in the walls, and the heart and soul of guys that have been in there before you are in the fucking floor. It's just, I don't know if you ever walked into an arena like the night after a championship. You can tell. It's weird. Wrestling room, like, that effort doesn't go away. You can feel it. So to show up every day and just be among effort, kids don't have to do anything. And you ask them to do the extraordinary, and they do it, and they feel extraordinary. That's a really long answer. I already answered. Next question, please. Sorry. I was rambling.
I think you're very fortunate to be in touch with the issues that you have and to be aware of them, because that.
What's the alternative? There is no alternative. That's the problem with life, is people don't realize.
Yeah, but there may not be an alternative, or the other alternative may not be good. But at the same time, most people are in denial. Most people won't admit their issues, and
myself included. Like I just told you, I was a sex addict. That's the first time I've ever said that out loud, ever.
Okay.
Ever. Like if I ask somebody for cash, if a check is cashed, if I need money, it's either for drugs or pussy. That's that.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the ATM, it's not for Rouse. And Chris Rock has that joke like nothing good happens at the ATM after 1 a.m. No, at all. Period. There's no reason to go to the ATM. Like nobody lives that way. You got something in your wallet or your pocket, or you don't need it. So just go home and wait till you get a fucking paycheck. But yeah, I get it. You got to be accountable. And I'm sorry. I just realized I'm a little freaked out. Not freaked out. I'm a little, wow. I never knew I was an actual sex addict.
Well, it's, like I said, being in touch with your issues is like, I don't want to say it's 90% of your problem, because the way you're explaining it, I don't think it's even though it's a problem, the fact that you're aware of what's going on with yourself makes you a lot better off than the people that are in denial.
I agree. And I agree for anyone. Look, I'm going to simplify life for you, Eddie, because you're a bartender. You've heard everything. You've seen everything. If I walk to your house with a midget on roller skates who had a fucking Robert De Niro's pink bathrobe from Casino over his shoulder, smoking a pipe, it wouldn't fucking impress you because you've seen weirder things.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it all. You've seen everything. And you've seen people at your bar, you just know there's no there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I forget where I was going with this point, but yeah, we have to be accountable. That's where I was going. Accountability, that's really like the whole gig to happiness. Gratitude, people are happy because they're grateful. It's not a coincidence. And accountability is really, life is repetition and attendance. You have to keep showing up and you got to do something until it is ground to fucking dust. James Brown never got fucking bored working out some song. Never. Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant never did free throws alone and went, this is boring. Can we do something else? No one has ever gotten bored getting better. So if you're fucking bored, why don't you improve you? Because it's endless. Trust me. And sometimes you're like, I got to stop trying to fix me because I'm going to go insane. You got to know when to walk away from the easel too. So if you're bored, you're not present. If you're not present, that's something right away you can work on. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, Eddie.
I do. And
all right, good. That's all I need to know, Chris Kringle.
I know what you're talking about. And like I said, it scares me. When did you start the life coaching?
Okay, yeah, that's the thing I was going to answer earlier, and I got sidetracked. I'm getting manic. On my podcast, More Stories, which is free, and there's no commercials or anything. Everybody have at it. You'll have fun.
And that's you have that out now.
My podcast has been out for, nice to know you did homework. It's been out for a decade, but yeah, it's out. There's always an episode out, and it's a free app.
I know it is. I'm having you talk about it. So
you're very good at this.
My three listeners will tune you in.
4. My Yaz is over there in the corner rolling her eyes at me because I keep I would have people on my podcast, and it's got to be a hang. As you know, when you listen to a podcast, it's got to be a place they don't want to leave. So instead of like interviewing comedians that were my friends, like we broke it down, whether it's jokes or mostly life. And I remember guys like Gary Goldman, Brody. Enjoy it. I love you, Brody, so much. I'd say rest in peace, but you're not here. Ralphie, just all these guys would like open their hearts to me, and I would just have
something I needed to say to them to let them off the hook the way they were kicking the shit out of themselves. And it became like Ray Mancini. You remember Ray Boom Boom Mancini? He's a neighborhood guy. He's from the neighborhood. It's like, I'm talking to Ray Mancini about his mom and his dead brother, and he's crying. And I was like, I'm good at this. But that came later, the thought, because in real time, you're just trying to offer some solace to your friend. And then I started thinking, like, what's the fastest way to get to it, quote unquote? Like, so I came up with a sentence I have the person complete. I feel blank because blank. Anyway, my podcast. The answer is my podcast, helping my friends, and people would email me, because talking about sobriety mostly. People would say, could you help me with this getting sober? It's eluding me. And I would, say, like, are you ready to get sober, or are you ready to get sober? Like, let's be honest. You got to be honest. And when I do the life coaching stuff, it's pretty much honesty, accountability. You have to fucking set free the negatives. You got to set them down, whether it's negative self-talk, the opinions of other people. At some point, you got to go forward, because you're not sharing with me all the nice things people said about you. You're telling me about some guilt trip you're on. You never told me about what you fucking actually did to feel guilty. And then you have to take action, because we're not judged on our intent. When we die, nobody goes, this guy, when he was alive, he really wanted to have his own wrestling club and coach wrestling. He didn't. That no one talks about what we wanted to do when we die. You got to take action. So accountability, honesty, accountability, release the negatives, take action.
And I think that's you have two key words there for me, and that's accountability.
Booze? Oh.
No, yeah, well, that's a third one. Accountability and action. People don't want to be held accountable for themselves, and they also don't want to put into action what will make them better.
Why do you think that is, brother? Because I'm sure you could do this as well as I do it. Why don't they want to take action?
They're lazy. They don't want to see the truth.
The primary emotion is
fear.
Bingo. Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Every single person on earth that you see today is afraid. It is the fucking fuel that makes the country go. Yeah. And you know what the big one I see is, Eddie, when they it's Coach JJ37@gmail.com if you're interested. Fear of success. We're always told about fear of failure. He's afraid. I fear of failure. No, you don't. You failed, Eddie. I've been up for 45 minutes. Okay, I failed 6 times. I just made a cup of coffee without a cup under the fucking machine. Like,
I've done that.
I literally didn't put a cup in there. I'm like, wow. I'm not afraid to make coffee now. We don't have a fear of failure. You learn to walk, you fall over, you bump your head, you get freaked out, you keep going. Fear of success. Somebody doesn't do something, they don't move, because if I do it, what if it works? Then everyone's going to look at me and tell me I'm great. Then I'm going to have to look at me and examine being great, and I don't know who I am, and that scares the shit out of me. Fear of success is so huge now.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think you're 110% right. Everybody, I mean, there are so many people I know that I've met over the years, and one prime example is a guy, I can't remember his name. He was offered a job on SNL, no credits. They saw him at the Improv, no credits, nothing. I guess Lorne Michaels or somebody saw him. They offered him a writing job, whatever the beginning thing is there. And either he or his manager said to them, well, let's see if we can get some more money.
Yeah, that's not going to work there.
Well, that was it.
It's bracketed and slotted. There's no negotiation. Like,
yeah,
Phil Hartman got what he made with the next guy. Like, everyone is, yeah.
Right, and that was...
By the way, I like how you said you don't know who the person's name is. Like, I would believe it.
Yeah, well, I don't remember his name.
It's
honestly,
Mike Kaplan.
It's a common story.
Mike Kaplan.
Who?
Mike Kaplan.
Well, Mike may be one of them, but no.
I don't know. I was just picking a name that actually could be a good choice. That was believable.
Believe it or not, the guy is now selling real estate in New Jersey, which is where he came from. But they never heard back.
Tell me off air like who this is.
I would say his name, honestly. It's God. I would probably
What's
remember
interesting about that is the manager co-signed the bullshit, the fear of success, because the manager actually saw the dollar signs and went, well, let's go back and get more money, not reading that his client was afraid.
Well, not reading.
The manager doesn't have a fear of success. He doesn't have to do anything. He just stays at home. The other kid goes out and makes a living, and the manager gets 10%. Why managers? Why don't you earn a fucking living instead of going in everybody's pocket for a little percentage here and there?
Well, that plus the fact that it's they don't negotiate, as you said. They just, I'm offering you a job. This is the salary.
$6,000 your first year, $1,500 extra if you're on the writing staff. The next year it's like $6,800. It's like the NFL draft.
Yeah, you take it or
position is exactly what you make. Period. Yeah,
you take it or you leave it.
Right.
And when you ask for more money,
he fucking left it. What an asshole! I'm glad I don't know who it is because I can say freely. What an asshole!
Oh, without a doubt.
We want more money.
That was the there you go. Show me the money.
Wow.
And they said, "There's the door." That was it. No negotiation.
It's the marshmallow. It's the marshmallow test. Like everybody wants immediate gratification. It's that little marshmallow test. Like which little kid can fucking do what he was told to say, I'm going to leave for 5 minutes. Don't touch that marshmallow. I'll give you a second marshmallow. Guess what? Most of them fucking ate it. They found the kids that waited for the second marshmallow are like CEOs. And the other ones
people are afraid of like exactly like you said. Now that I've got this job, I have to back it up. And how am I going to handle it? And I think people are more afraid of having to back up what they're doing. And that increases their fear of success,
I get it. Like how many comics have we seen self-immolate the night the fucking network executive goes, here it is. Like I've seen guys absolutely implode on purpose. Like David Cross, who's a genius, period. No discussion. There's no counter argument. The guy's a fucking genius at comedy. And I remember, I think it was Duck Soup in Boston. HBO came to see him. And in hindsight, it was like Andy Kaufman brilliant. But I remember at the time at 20, I'm like, what is he doing? He goes, all right, everybody, come on, clap your hands. And he got the whole audience clapping their hands. HBO was there to see him. I'm pretty sure they're going, all right, everybody, come on, clap your hands. All right, a 1, 2, 3, 4. And he counted, he was into the 60s when people started leaving. And he kept going. It was like 8 minutes. He got up to like 100 and something, and he walked off stage. In hindsight, I'm hiring that guy right now. But at the time, I'm like, he's blowing it. That was HBO had vision. They could have seen that's not a guy afraid of success, and he's proven it. He's really fucking brilliant, and he's telling you, go fuck yourself. You're gonna come see me to make my life, you fucking dictator.
Well, that is very Andy Kaufman-esque, because Andy Kaufman would push the envelope to see how much you would take.
I think you went too far a lot, but that's the gig. So I love
him. I agree.
I know what's too far for me because I'm a whore. I can't lose who I'm dancing with. I can't have somebody walk out. It's a service industry. I need you to come back again and again and again and again.
Well, some people, and Andy in particular, they can push the envelope because of where they're at that point. Although Andy pushed the envelope before he was even known. I mean, when he met Bud and whatever. But most people.
We need to talk more about the fact that you firsthand watched Andy Kaufman do weird things, like taking an audience out for milk and cookies. Like you were always ringside for this stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I've told these stories before, and one of one of my favorite.
I'm in trouble because you're tired. Like it's like a girl that like all my ex-boyfriends, all they wanted was anal. I'm like, what? So I'm the guy. I'm the roadblock now. I'm the toll booth. I don't get it.
Well, one of my favorite stories about Andy is he brought a table up onto stage. and a chair. Had a server come up and take his order. Sat there, waited for the order, ate the order, asked for the check, paid the check, and left. That was his.
Mike. Hey, Mike. Who's the artist? Maria Abramovich? Is that her name? You know what I'm talking about?
What kind of artist is she?
Like that, like performance art. She'll like literally sit topless at a table, and you sit across from her and try to get her to move her face muscles or something, or.
I don't know her name, but she was at LACMA not like maybe 4 years ago doing the same thing, naked, sitting across from me.
Know her name? How do you know she was there?
I think it's the same woman, dark hair.
Yeah. She's like kind of hot, like Israeli.
Yeah,
hot.
she's like 50, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look. By the way, Mike, you look fantastic.
So do you. You look good.
Thanks. I'm sitting like Phil Jackson with my shoulders up in this chair.
Yoo-hoo. I'm here too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, can we two gentlemen fall in love?
I mean, it's like
we're not on Grindr anymore. Let us do our thing.
I may still be alive, but and I still look the same.
You look great. How old are you?
Oh, I'm old.
30. Oops.
I'm like over 50.
You're really not gonna tell me how old you are?
I'll tell you off the air.
Well, this interests me. I'm not going to make you say it. Don't worry. I'm not going to guess either because it's beneath both of us.
No, it's
you want to be cast as a 40-year-old? Like who? Like why would you not reveal your age? People treat you differently?
No, only because people look at you differently.
How do you? No. Hold on. Well, this life coach should be acting up here. Well, if you don't say your age, how would you know that?
That they treat you differently.
Their perception of what they might react.
Some people do know my age. But
they don't see you every time and go, I've known you since childhood. I can't believe we're both this old.
Well, that's true, but
the people's reaction is they can't believe how old you are is never a negative.
Well,
you're so full of life.
Okay, the life coach in you will make me reveal my age.
I don't want you to reveal your age. I just examine like what the actual problem is, because it's who the fuck's treating you differently? Can I get a rum and coke? Oh, I didn't know you were that old. Never mind. I don't have a See that, Schweppes? These old people never have Schweppes. What a great word, Schweppes.
No, I am in my 70s.
You look fantastic, buddy. You've never said that on this podcast?
Nope. Never.
You take it out though. Bleep it out. Don't reveal it here.
That's okay. Yeah, we'll
Mike,
bleep
make sure you
out.
please erase it or do a bad dub, Mike, of your voice going 56.
But it's I.
What year were you born? That age?
46, 19.
So
I've seen a lot.
Was Truman in yet? Was it right when Truman came in, or
no? In 46, it was still FDR, and then
no legs, just his torso.
Truman. I've seen a lot of presidents. In fact, this is funny, and because I've had so much time on my hands, I sat down and I'm compiling a list of all the events that have occurred during my lifetime. Not to me.
Well, let me cut you off. Somebody's doing that already. It's called historians. And if it's not about you, it's called memories. Everyone's done it already, Eddie.
I know. I'm not doing it for any particular reason. I was just doing it for me. I'm breaking your balls. I think it's fascinating. I know you are. I enjoyed it. I just sat there, and I'm not done with it because every day I think of something else. It's kind of like
memory of a Truman administration.
I was a little young.
Term. So you were like at least 8.
I had the Kennedys,
Truman's my favorite
Kennedys,
president.
Nixon, all that stuff.
Too.
Jay, Eddie was a guidance counselor in Harlem.
I thought you were going to say he was a flapper.
He was a flapper as well.
Yeah,
Hello, Did you know that?
That's good, Mikey.
He was a high school.
I like how you guys
counselor.
are in the same building but separate rooms.
I was
in the podcast room, and you're in your office at the Improv.
I was a dean in a junior high school in Harlem for 7 years, a behavioral counselor, so to
Wow.
speak.
What years was this?
This was 1969 through 1976.
Eddie, I'm gonna tell you something. You know I love you. You know that, and I've always just loved you. And the fact that you were a guidance counselor, a behavioral specializing guidance counselor in 69, 70, 1971, that was not an era of talking about your fucking feelings.
No, it definitely
And
wasn't.
with black guys in Harlem, it's like, who are you, white bitch? Like
Well,
69 was a little turbulent.
It was. There was a lot of turbulence. I dealt with Black Panthers. I dealt with people that hated white people, but mostly I dealt with kids that were kids, and which is what I enjoyed the most. These kids were economic circumstance, is why a lot of them were in the position they were, but they were kids and they had the same needs, the same wants, everything that everybody else wanted. And it was probably the most rewarding job I've had over the years. It's just that the system beat me down and I left.
Wow. That's amazing. Because
it was
you
like
and the kids,
you couldn't get anything done.
you and the kids were in the same system as different participants.
Yeah, well, definitely.
And a system that grinds people of color down to a fucking nub and gets their lives to the binary crack or basketball, as Biggie says. Either you slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. The fact that you were in the system, not the system, provided to them from the system, and you got beaten down, not by the kids, but by the system, lets us know all we need to know about the system.
Yeah,
well, good. And
a lot of the problem goes back to the word that you used before, which was accountability. There was no accountability for anything anybody did or didn't do. I've told this story before, not to you. I helped get one of our basketball players a scholarship to a private school. And this was at a time when all these white private schools were looking to integrate and bring in black kids or whatever.
75, 76, we're talking.
Yeah. And
72, no white school was looking for brothers.
No, it was 75. It was 75. And the thing was, the kid was totally qualified. and he, when I got him in, I went to the actual guidance counselor and asked her if she had gotten if other kids have gotten scholarships to schools and all. And she just simply said, no, we've never applied. Oh. And I'm like, what do you mean you've never applied? They're there. And my point is the accountability.
Well, no, I get your point. It's like the fact that this woman didn't have the vision for a best case scenario for kids that needed it is just not cool. Well, like my whole job, separate someone from concern is why I'm on earth. Mm-hmm. When I was at a Christian Coaching Coalition meeting, and this guy that was speaking, he's the most fascinating coaches I've ever met in my life because they're tied to the word, capital W, and I'm not. I'm a cafeteria Christian, man. And this guy said, this changed my whole thing. He goes, if your team never wins a match and you don't have a single wrestler win a match, ever, it's a successful season. Why? What's the one? He said, and you're not allowed to answer for 2 weeks because you have to get it down to a sentence. One sentence. Why are you still completely confident, fulfilled, and proud as a coach? What's the sentence where if you lose everything, you don't give a shit because it's the most successful season you've ever had? And after 2 weeks, I got them to see I was right. I just figured out. I just found my validation that I get from it. I got the kids to see they were actually more incredible than they had believed prior. Even if they lost, if they just give that effort, they know they can give that effort. And that's like, it's amazing. You said something that really like was amazing just now, Eddie. I don't know if you realize it. Mostly I dealt with kids who were kids.
Yeah, well, that's it.
I wrote that down, brother. Like I took a note on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Because you're expecting that we're really put out by society. Mostly I dealt with kids whose moms would suck me off in an alley. Like, no, they were kids.
No,
and you're right. We forget it. Coaches, you're like,
that's
part of everybody's problem. Like, I don't know. I just learned how to jerk off. Maybe it's that.
That's part of the issue today with all even race relations is that if we could get rid of all us adults and start off with just kids at the age of 2 or 3, bigotry isn't inborn. Bigotry is learned.
And the kids today don't really have it.
No, they don't. They don't
have passion for, by the way, they don't have passion like that for anything.
No.
So you're asking a kid, like a 15-year-old kid, like, you want to be a racist? It's like, then I got to get up off the couch. Like, man. But it's not their fault. The millennials don't have to do anything because, like, one kid has an Uber account. And 2 of them work at a pet store. There's enough money for fucking soda and weed. They sleep on another guy's couch. They all get driven home from the one car. It's not their fault. They don't have to do anything.
That's why when I was back in the early 70s, I was in Washington. I marched in Washington. I was in Washington. I was maced and all the rest of that stuff. And we had a passion against the Vietnam War and everything that was going on at that time. And like now, even this last incident seems to have aroused quite a passion, and hopefully it'll continue.
It will.
What?
There's no struggle. Anytime we've had seismic change in our culture, there's always struggle. There has to be struggle to have reform.
That's right.
Richard Rohr, Franciscan monk who I adore, R-O-H-R, Richard Rohr, he wrote Falling Upwards and Order, Disorder, Reorder. Order, disorder, reorder. There is no direct flight from order to reorder. None. You will have a layover in disorder to get to reorder. It's the only way. I mean, Christ was crucified. I got news for you. Disorder is what you signed up for by coming out of your mother. Part of the deal. And people that are, I'm not talking politically, people that are conservative minded will pound the shit out of order and just keep fucking order. And people that are liberal minded, like me and you and Mike, we pound the shit out of reorder. I got to reorder. We're all wrong. It's order, disorder, then reorder. So I don't even know what the fuck I was saying. I got so down with my 3 things. But I'm sure it ties to what you're saying.
It's just that there has not been the passion of the 70s.
Oh, the struggle, the streets, the protest. This is the disorder, and what happens after disorder is reorder. Look, the universe is inevitably tilted slightly, but tilted toward inclusion. There is no other outcome of the world than love and acceptance. If you look back, women couldn't fucking vote. In the 1900s, women were not allowed to vote. Black people in our fucking Declaration of Independence are 1/8 of a human. It's like we had slaves. All that is gone. Yeah, there's race problems. There always will be for a very long time. But the universe is tilted towards inclusion. And history proves it time and time and time again. And what has won out throughout history? There is not one single instant, with the exception of Hernan Cortez and the Mayans. I don't know if there's really anything that diabolical that has actually been seen through to the end successfully. Like Hitler, Genghis Khan, the Crusades, the Inquisitions, it all eventually people go, this is fucking insane and wrong, period.
Mm-hmm.
What fascinates me is the people on the other side are positive, they're right. That's what fascinates me about the human condition, Eduardo. Like a guy in Japan is watching the sun go down, a guy in Hawaii is watching the sun come up. There's a guy in New York, there's no sun. All three guys are right. All three guys are right.
Yep.
When you have an argument with somebody, my ex-wives, plural, will tell their friends their story, and not one person will go, you think maybe you got that wrong? They're right. They know they're right.
Right.
That fascinates me, Mike. Mike, you've been in an argument with somebody, and that person knows they're fucking right. Now, if I go to St. Francis of Assisi, the part of the prayer, understand and be understood, like help me understand instead of trying to be understood. That's helped me when I've been in any type of argument or situation. I'm like, I know this person thinks they're right, so let me actually speak their language, put on my UN headset, have this shit translated. And then if I know I'm right and they still know they're right, who gives a fuck? You go about your day.
What do you think is the answer?
That's what my knee-jerk response was delusion. Because if I've done my side of the street, my accountability and my step work, my AA, my this and that, I don't know how I'm wrong if I know what's right and wrong. But that person feels the same way. They might not have done the work I have done, but they're not an alcoholic maybe. There's no scorecard of effort in life. The body wins in the end, but I don't know. I'm really like people are like, if you're at a protest and you're knocking out black kids because they got they're fucking thugs or whatever, like you, me, and Mike, and everybody we know are like, what? Then you got to knock me out next. I won't stand for that. But that guy, whoever, they know they're right. Like they were in their house talking about it. Everybody around them went, let's go fucking knock out some blacks. Hell yeah. I don't get it. And I don't know the answer.
I don't know.
Republican senators, like how on earth can any, like Murkowski or Susan, how can any Republican senator go, yeah, I'm not sure if I've made up my mind who I'm voting for in 2020. Like, are you guys fucking absolute soulless cunts? Like, and I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I wouldn't legitimize either of these tie-wearing fucking cuckolds with my affiliation. Let's not act like every member of the legislature doesn't go home and watch his wife get fucked by a bull. Let's not act like that's not the actuality. And let's not act like Lindsey Graham doesn't dress up like Mama's Family, Carol Burnett. Vicki Lawrence, I stink. Lindsey Graham sounds like a Southern belle, like, well, this just reeks of diddly poo. And I'm insulted. I have the vapors. I heard the Tarleton Twins are coming over.
I think part of the problem and part of the answer is tolerance and listening to other people.
Bingo.
Yeah. People do not do that. It's when you get to know someone personally, you have a total different understanding of them other than the stereotype. Again, when I was in college, I worked in the library. I sat at a table for about 3 or 4 months working across from some other guy who spent all of that time telling me how the Jews were responsible for every problem on earth.
So?
And after 3 months or whatever, I said to him, I'm Jewish.
I didn't know you were Jewish.
I am. And he said,
I didn't see your tail.
he said to me, well, you're different. And I said,
oh my God.
I said, that's because you know me. You spoke
Yours has
to
been
me.
pinned. You're different.
I'm not any different from a Catholic, a Presbyterian, a
You're
Christian.
not like other Dobermans. Your ears are not pinned.
Yeah, and I think that's half the problem. Everybody listens.
Person.
you listen to your parents who may be bigoted, you listen to your friends who may be bigoted, and you do not think for yourself. It's like,
Look, I want to do this podcast again where we're not talking about career. I know people are interested in career things, but you are dropping such fucking dimes here, such knowledge. And it's right. I want to do this again with, are you at home? Are you doing this from your house or the Improv?
yeah. I'm at my house because
You live in LA though, right?
No, I live in Newbury Park.
I can go there. I want to sit with you though, you know? Because I mean, what am I getting, AIDS again? Come on. But I mean, I would really love to do it again in person and not have it be like, so Jerry Maguire, this, or we can do a third where it's just you peppering me with show business questions. But what you're saying is important, brother, because I have this thing I do with life coaching called MAPS. Who you think you are, Eddie, at fucking 62 years old, who you think you are at 61, Mike Carano, whoever you think you are, whatever goofy age you are, you leading man. Mike looks good, man. I love Mike Carano, baby. Mike and I, I'm sorry, but Mike and I always seem to see each other in public when we're both about to fucking crack. And we always see each other, and it's like someplace like a Gelson parking lot, and then we'll talk for an hour standing there, and we go home, and then for 2 days, it's like, I love you, but I love you too. And then we don't talk for 8 months the way comedians are. And then when we see each other, it's like we just came in from the other room.
That's just life. Yeah,
I do this thing called MAPS when I'm life coaching, and that is who you think you are, who Mike thinks he is greatly because of our parents, like you just said, our friends. All things that have ever lived, ever, have been drawn toward light. Like the trees on Wilshire that lean towards the setting sun. They don't get taught that. Everything does it. Everything that's ever lived, no exceptions. And that's people too. So when we have parents, they're literally between us and the sun when we're kids. And they don't look happy. They look very disappointed or upset or pissed off or annoyed at us. Maybe cigarette smoke is in their eye. They're hungover. Maybe we're fucking annoying. But they're literally like putting a shadow on us when they talk to us. But who they made us feel shitty is a part of who I am. If you go to Chris Rock's old neighborhood in Brooklyn and say to an old timer, you remember Chris Rock? The guy's going to scrunch up his face and go, shit, I remember when Chris Rock used to fucking come around here. And that's not who Chris Rock is at all. Chris Rock is a fucking grown-ass man who is one of the most forward thinkers of any generation on a Dalai Lama level of intuitiveness, compassion, and realism and pragmatism. That's not who, but that, you bet your ass, that's a part of who he fucking thinks he is. He came, hey, you know Joey McIntyre? Oh, that little fucking prick used to sing in front of the fucking, that's not who Joey McIntyre is, but that's who he thinks he is, partly, absolutely. So I have my clients, I tell them, we've never written our own maps, and I'm starting mine now at 49 years old and 11 months. Who am I? Because who my neighbors thought I was, who my friends thought I was, that's not who I am.
That's right.
So every map starts with you are here. So where is here? Here is I'm 49. Basically, when you go through these things and you actually write them down in a notebook, you realize how far you've come in spite of people saying shitty things to you your entire life.
And Jay, we're all guilty of that because, you know, I've been listening to a lot of interviews online.
Like single tier spotlight right now.
Yeah.
And David Bowie, Bing Crosby, little drummer boy kicks into the background.
Not those interviews. I've been listening to a lot of interviews with athletes, with political figures or whatever, who I too have my preconceived notions about. And then you listen to them and you totally change because you see them as people. You don't see them anymore.
And both ways. You listen to an interview and you go, wow, this guy I like is a fucking maniac.
Right. That's exactly right. It does work both ways.
Oprah said, when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Well, it's a crazy dichotomy in the sense that, you know, we're a pretty fucked up people, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, there is no two ways about that. there are so many divides, and there are so many, like, oh God, so many different opinions, and so many of them are right and so many of them are wrong, that we just don't have any idea what the real truth is. And that's
We agree on, Eddie, is it ain't binary. It's
no,
not right or wrong. And that's why people leave the church so much. Heaven, hell, redemption, salvation. It's like, no. It can't, it's too big of a mystery to be binary, this life. It's not right or wrong, hot or cold. There's no reason for our existence. Why are we in existence on a rock with oceans on top of it in the middle of space, when within billions of light years, there's nothing? This is the perfect temperature for human life, and all the fauna, all the animals. There's no reason for existence. There's not a reason for existence unless, like Alan Watts, the British philosopher, says, if a tree brings fruit, it's a fruit tree. Like the earth is peopling. It makes people. Like you weren't born into the universe. You were born from the universe onto earth. It's none of it makes sense, but the magnitude of the mystery can't be, he's right, I'm wrong. It's Richard Rohr again, the Franciscan monk. A big part of his book is fighting the duality mindset. Like he's right, I'm wrong. Like there's like the three guys I said about the sun. You can keep going. It's interesting. Like, and you nailed it. Listening, you nailed it. I have friends that are atheists on my podcast that I actually listen to their point of view. Okay. And then they listen to mine because I listen to theirs. I had a driver once that was a Jehovah's Witness, and I said, look, man, will you just explain once and for all what it is? We both have the same fundamental belief, the teachings of Christ. No, we shook hands. He was taking me to Staples Center. It was like an 11-minute drive. I'm like, we got to make this quick. Yeesh. So we shook hands on it, and he explained to me they're literalists. That's why they don't celebrate birthdays. There's no birthdays in the Bible. And I said, what I didn't say to the guy, which I would have said with no duality thinking, is, well, then you literally have sex with your daughters like Lot did in Genesis. Well, if you're going to interpret the Bible literally, you have a slave? What are you talking about? But we had that respect going in that we were only going to listen to each other. And then at one point he said, I have the door right here to salvation, and I got to convince you. I said, why do you guys go door to door? Because they need money, because it's a donation sport, essentially, because they don't have tax exempt. Maybe I don't know. But he said they go door to door. They're operating in a deficit, I told him, because as a Christian, you come to my door and tell me I'm being a Christian the wrong way. That's offensive to me. Like, you're coming to my home to tell me what I'm doing is wrong. It's my faith. It's my belief. Not yours, not Mike's. It's mine. And I said, and I have a door back here that I know is my salvation. And he goes, and none of us know. And I go, that's right. Because in the end, Mike, Eddie, none of us know. None of us fucking know. Any born-again Christian telling you what the fuck is up is an absolute asshole. Because go read Rob Bell, Love Wins. And go read John Shelby Spong, Rescuing the Bible from Fundamentalism, who's an archbishop of the church, by the way. These guys know what the fuck they're talking about. But yeah, it's a mystery, man.
Nobody knows what the truth is, but people won't admit that. So many people think, I know what the answer is. You know,
they won't admit to themselves. True. Yeah. Like I was at an AA meeting once, and the guy said, and then finally, after 15 years of sobriety, I made the toughest amends that I'd been putting off. And I'm like, ooh, he goes, to me. I was like, oh shit. That was the last person he contacted himself and said, I'm sorry I fucked you up. Like we do in AA. Like you make an amends, unless it'll hurt the person further. You have to tell the person, when I was doing this behavior, I put you on the spot. Like I had Barry over here the other night. I had to tell him, I'm like, I fucked you up a lot, man. I didn't realize it until I investigated myself. You know, I lie to myself. I'm an expert at lying to me. I'm an expert. So yeah, it's honesty. You have to be honest about yourself, and you have to be tired of being tired. And I got news for you. Everything's okay. People that walk around complaining and this and that, it's a fucking choice. And for me, it's a daily battle. Like, don't complain. Don't have self-pity. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't make it about myself. Don't be selfish. I woke up at 10:35, and I swear to God, the only thought I had until 11:04 was fucking Eddie's podcast. Really? Come on. But you know what? I'm the asshole that stayed up late last night chasing pussy. It's you're my friend. I didn't even know Mike was involved. Like, it was you, Eddie. You're the draw. Like Carano. Carano, do you chime in? Like, what kind of career move is it to be on a podcast and not talk?
Mike Carano is.
I'm not on it. I'm just making sure it runs smoothly.
Mike
loves
Carano
being
is
alongside
extremely
greats.
responsible for all this. And getting back to what you were saying, half of the problem is, or part of the problem is that, what you believe is true for you. It doesn't make it true for someone else.
Well, what I'm saying is what you believe has been true for you. And I'm saying, let's investigate if it actually is true, meaning all the definitions of true. Like when you shoot a gun straight and hit a target, that gunshot true. That's all I'm inviting everybody to do is just, are you lying? That thing that you keep telling everybody you're going to write? No, you're not. Because you keep fucking talking about it. You don't have to do it. Oh, I just discovered this. Guilt is the absolute most useless human emotion is guilt.
Really?
It solves
useless.
Nothing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It does nothing to advance the species. Fear will at least keep you alive. There's a rattlesnake, go the other direction. Holy shit. Guilt, I've realized people that have guilt, and if I'm wrong, I would love to say I'm wrong, and everybody's welcome to fucking tell me. So it's a passive narcissism. If you have guilt about something you did 20 years ago, you're the only one that even fucking knows about it. Some shit you did, the people involved aren't thinking about it except you. So when I see you at a restaurant, another couple's going to join us, and you tell me what you feel guilty about, there's only one reaction every time. No, don't feel guilty. You're a good person. You get validated that way. We're only talking about you and how great you are. You shouldn't feel guilty. And then
we are so wrapped up in.
Then the couple tells you you're great. Now it's 25 minutes. All anybody's talking about is how you shouldn't go fuck yourself. You're boring. Why don't you tell us the reason you feel that guilt? Why don't you be honest and say, hey, I'm so fucked up. I double dosed my kid's flu and cough medicine with codeine, and he overdosed, and he had to go see a doctor, and the dad had to be asked by a pediatrician, hey, what's going on in your house? Or you took a kid to the fucking beach 5 hours without sunscreen, you got sun poisoning, and your husband was asked by the same pediatrician a year later, what the fuck is going on in your house? And you got to explain, I don't know, it's not me, it's her, hypothetically. Oof. So, tell us about your hurt. Tell us about your sadness. Tell us about your anger, not your fucking guilt, you asshole. If you left the house every morning with a can of WD-40 and carried it around all day, eventually somebody's going to need something oiled, and they'll go, I can't believe you had that, and I asked for it. I didn't ask for your fucking guilt, and I don't need it, ever. No one does.
Most people are so wrapped up in thinking they are what it's all about, that you lose sight of reality, which is nobody else is wrapped, just like you said before, is wrapped up in you. A perfect example is me. I went on an audition years ago. It was a cattle call up at Universal, and there had to be 100 guys going in for this one line.
Like cattle?
Yeah. one after another. And when it came my turn, I said to the casting director, would you introduce me and then I'll come in? Now the line was freeze, police. And so I smashed through the door and went, freeze, police. Well, literally there, and I had no idea who was in the room. There were like 5 or 6 producers, whatever. 2 of them literally fell off their chairs. They got so scared. So that was that. I leave. I don't get the job. For an entire year, I'm thinking, oh, this casting director will never call me in again. This had to be the worst thing I did. Well, I ran into her, and we were talking, and I mentioned this to her, and she goes, oh, I don't remember that.
Wow.
It's like my point is
Wow.
that I thought it's all about me.
Everyone does, Eddie.
It's not.
I know. And that's
know?
hard. It's hard to pivot from your point of view, out your eyes, out your windshield. When you're in your car on the freeway, everyone else is a fucking lunatic maniac. What? Every single person on the 405 freeway is that person that you are thinking you're one of the fucking massive amounts of people. Each person is the star and you're an extra in their show. It's not the case. We're all, you know, I'm starting to sound like Russell Brand. We're all bits of light. We're all connected in the space, Eddie, between us. It's not empty. You're beautiful. Are you real? You're like a little sprite, a woodland nymph serving cocktails to alleviate folks from what might urge them. I lost the impression.
Jay, thank you so much.
Let's do it again. I already told Yasmin, like, let's schedule one. Can we do it again? And I want to hear more of your brain. And of course, I'll answer you've seen my act 1,000 times.
Yep.
An open book, like my skeleton.
Absolutely no problem. I would love to have you on again. I want to thank
Newbury
you.
Park.
What's that? Newbury Park.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of wrestling tournaments in Newbury Park. I'm not kidding, too. It's hilarious. Yeah.
Where do you live? City.
I live in Malibu, and my landlord's where he used to keep his surfboards. It's a little tiny apartment right here.
Oh, that's cool. That's all right. That's
good. I live a life of purpose. I don't have, my next check will be what I own. My next check will be my income. Zero. I'm at zero. I was walking on the beach in Malibu. I was like, I live on the beach in Malibu. I'm a high school wrestling coach, and I know I'm in the 0.01% in the history of my profession. I'm in the 0.01 percentile of success. And as a wrestling coach, I'm aware I'm in the 1% of success because I'm doing a different thing. I'm all about between the years. And I went, and I don't make a fucking penny from one of them. And I don't give a fuck. You don't know it maybe till you're 50. So maybe I got like a 6-month head start. It's like, the money will come. If you chase it, you're always going to need it. And if you're chasing it, you're not present, enjoying what you already have. I heard a guy say to me once, you want to know what you really want? Look at what you have. That fucked me up, bro.
That's right.
Fucked me up.
It goes back to a thing that I always say.
Accountability again. I'm hanging up.
It's also be true to yourself. You know, if you're true
to yourself, be true.
You've got half the battle won, and we will do this again.
Mostly, I worked with kids who were kids. Was one of the most beautiful sentences. You moved my molecules with that one. You showed that big heart of yours, man. And let me tell you something. This is what people don't know. This is the most we've ever spoken in our lives. What really took me aback was about your party at the Improv, your retirement party. Was Rita insisted I was on this show, and I said, my entire exchanges with Eddie in 22 years, 24 years, is, how you doing, buddy? Great seeing you. We both mean it. I asked for a bottle of water. You put a Fiji in front of me or a Voss, and I put $5 on the bar, and you go, you don't have to do that. I go, that's for you, bro. And then I walk in, I do my show, and on my way out, if I go out that way, I go, see, Eddie. So I didn't get it. But you're very intuitive, and I know now why it was so important I was on that show. It's for all of this, and I'm grateful I was on that show because you got it.
I want to thank you for being on the show.
Stories about Eddie. What am I going on stage for 20 minutes talk about bottled water?
No, you'll make up a story that I will never ever live down.
I'm going to tell you something. I know you got to bounce. I'm going to tell you real quick. That night, I was so smug with confidence and happiness at what I was about to say. I had a rough outline in my head. But I knew I could sell it, and it was like enough was sort of real. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility you'd buy meat when it, like, of course Eddie won on supermarket sweeps or something like, and like a famous name brings them in a little. Anyway, my assistant Yaz was on the job. She pretty new at that time. And before I went on stage, there was 2 people before me. We go across the street to that weed store across from the Improv on Melrose. That's not there anymore. And it was me, my assistant Yaz, Adam Ferrara, and Brad Williams. Now, if you've ever crossed a street with a midget, you know the joy of crossing the street with a midget when you have to alter your gait so they can catch up a few times like they're your little kid. It's wonderful. But you look down and the kid's got a job and he's got a wallet. He's married with a kid and he has threesomes and he's a cool guy that gets put. It's Brad. He's your friend. We go into the weed store. Adam Ferrara's in line in front of me. Turns out he's a fucking weed snob, like a wine asshole. And Yaz is right behind him, my assistant. And she missed my entire set because Adam fucking Ferrara, who I love, period, is going, now that seems really oaky. Oak smell. That has a good canter. And it started like this. Have you shopped with us before? Yeah, but I prefer MedMen. And the guy puts his pen down and goes, really? Takes off his glasses. Why is that? And that's when Yaz knew she was fucked. I did 30 minutes. I still had to cross the street. By the way, I got bounced from the weed store because I didn't have my ID on me. You have to have an ID, or my driver's license was expired. They wouldn't take it as an ID. I go, it's still an identification. I just not valid to drive. I got to wait in the sidewalk. It was my idea to go to the weed store. Yasmin, Adam Farmer, Brad Williams, nobody came out to say like, hey, you want anything? I'm on the fucking sidewalk like a schmuck, like a bum. And then they all missed my set because Adam Ferrara was a wine snob with weed.
Well, they missed an extremely funny, believable sketch.
I've never been better in my life at anything than that.
It was phenomenal.
Buddy, I love you, and I don't want to keep you from your Santa Claus outfit and going to the Paramus Park Mall. But
thanks a lot, Jay.
hey, Toronto, way to come back in at the buzzer. Look at Mike.
I got to go. I got an appointment at 1:30, and I got to get out of here. I love both you guys. That was pretty intense,
Mike,
amazing
who's
talk.
Ernie doll? Is that your Ernie doll behind you?
No, was supposed to be me. That someone had it made. It's one of the Muppets.
Oh,
who's your favorite Muppet, Mike?
I don't know, Jay. I love them all.
I like the Cookie
Kermit's
Monster.
good. Got a little Sigmund down there. Got a Miss Piggy. Got a Fonz.
Sigmund.
Got captain's chairs everywhere.
Our friend.
I want a cookie.
I got a sword. Got a little Rocky Erickson over here.
That's a great documentary. What's it called? The Rocky Erickson one?
You Will Love Me or some.
Rocky Erickson.
I don't remember.
Hey, you gotta just go ahead, Mike. Do your thing. And Mike, 24/7, man.
Yeah, we're going to talk soon. Eddie, thank you. This is
Thank
great.
you guys.
6.
Jay, off the air, either you or Yasmin send me your address, and I will mail you one of these wonderful T-shirts.
Eddie, close it out because I got to hit the recording button.
Mike, leave already.
All right, guys.
All right, I'll see you later.
I got to stop the recording.
Mike,
I got
you're
a
freaking
1:30
everybody
appointment.
out. Stop it.
More. Okay. Next time, guys. Okay.
All right.
All right. Do bleep out my age.